All right, so let's start talking about more specialized lighting. I'm going to start out by selecting my directional light, and I'm just going to turn it off here in the inspector. I'm going to go to Game Object, Light, and I'm going to choose Point Light. Let's bring that in. So we could see that this light has a kind of sphere range around it that we could interactively kind of drag in and out. And you could see in the inspector that that's tied to the actual range value. Go, and it gives us kind of an even lighting in all directions. Point lights are one of the most commonly used light in Unity, and they're great for general purpose interior lighting. They're great for anything that needs to be lit in all directions. So things like candlelight, torchlight, and even kind of ambient light can all be achieved with point lights. So the most important thing to understand about point lights is the idea of linear fall off. So a lot of times people get confused over the range of this light. For example, I'm going to bring this light in so it's kind of in the center, and I'm going to bring down the range, bring down the range a little bit more. So it looks like the light is fully contained in the scene, but it's not actually really lighting much of anything except for this circle of light on the ground here. To help better illustrate this, I'm going to change the color of the light. Let's set it to a bright red. And we can see that indeed we're getting some lighting here on the floor and a little bit on the wall, but really not too much else. And the reason for this is because the light emanating from a point light truly is self-contained. The intensity value of the light is at 100% at the very center of the point light where the icon is, and it reduces all the way to 0 at the edge of the range here. This means that if we want our point light to really fully light the entirety of our scene, we need to increase the range so the light actually manages to get to the edge. So if I pull the point light down kind of to ground level, we could see how much more powerful it is right here in comparison to at the top of the scene where it's very weak. Just as with directional lights, we can increase the intensity of our point light, and we can also increase the bounce lighting with the indirect multiplier. Notice that we have this little call out that says real-time indirect bounce shadowing is not supported for spot and point lights. So this may be something that is supported in the future, but currently isn't. So that's just something to be aware of. By default, point lights do not have shadows turned on, but we can turn these on, and we have the same options as we do with directional lights. So we have soft shadows. We can see that working there, and hard shadows as well. I want to draw your attention to one last feature that is really useful for point lights. I'm going to pull this up so we could see it a little bit more obviously, and that is draw halo. So if I tick this on, you could see that a halo appears around our light. And this is really great for simulating exterior lights at night, such as street lights if there's a little bit of fog. Now obviously the use cases for this is a little bit limited, but it's still something that's really helpful to be aware of. It's going to take on whatever color you have for your point light. So if I change this to a blue, we could see that the halo changes that color as well. And it's limited by the range of the light. Unfortunately, by default there isn't a ton of control over it, but it's still useful to be aware of. In our next clip, let's take a look at spotlights.